Good evening, ladies and gents. On behalf of Dave, Jess, Lauren, and the entire Minnie and extended family, thank you for all being here today. Your presence here is a reflection of love, respect, and affection that so many people held for Jayne. Looking around this church, it is clear that her life touched far more people than she could ever have imagined. I would like to open in prayer, so if James or Kennedy can come up, please.
Good afternoon, friends. We're all here to be with the Minnie and Titford families this afternoon. So now I would ask you all to bow your heads as I open this memorial service with a prayer. Eternal God, we acknowledge the uncertainty of our life on earth. We are given a mere handful of days, and our span of life seems nothing in your sight. All flesh is as grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, but your word will stand forever. In this is our hope, for you are our God. Even in the valley of the shadow of death, you are with us. O Lord, let us know our end and the number of our days, that we may learn how fleeting life is. Turn your ear to our cry and hear our prayer. Do not be silent at our tears, for we live as strangers before you, wandering pilgrims as all our ancestors were. But you are the same, and your years shall have no end. Holy God, you see us as we are and know our inmost thoughts. We confess that we are unworthy of your gracious care. We forget that all life comes from you, and that you all life returns. We have not always sought or done your will. We have not lived as your grateful children, nor loved as Christ loved us. Apart from you, we are nothing. Only your grace can sustain us. Lord, in your mercy, forgive us. Heal us and make us whole. Set us free from our sin and restore to us the joy of your salvation now and forever. And all God's people said, Amen.
Today, I have the honor and privilege of speaking about someone that I love dearly. Jayne and I shared a very special bond. Back in 1996, a little snotty-nosed boy with a mop of hair took his first steps into the Alexander Playhouse. Unbeknown to me at the time, this would be the first day of a life-changing experience. An experience where my life took a sharp turn off the norm. For this and for me would be the start of an adventure that I would never have believed existed. Theatre isn't for everyone. But for me, it was like a moth to a flame. The very first person to welcome me into the theatre was the formidable Don Titford, Jayne's late father, an exceptional talent on stage and an even better person off stage. And this was also the start of my close bond with Jayne. And in a short time, I had adopted the name Squeezer from Jayne. She loved my hugs, and I felt the same. With Dave in the lighting box, Jayne assisting with wardrobe, and Don and I on stage, it was an incredible experience for me. More like a second family. And for the next 30 years, my love and appreciation for the Minnie family grew and grew. So we have gathered here today with hearts that are heavy, yet full. Heavy with grief because we have lost someone so special. And full because we were fortunate enough to have known her, loved her, laughed with her, and shared in her journey. Jayne was one of those rare people who made life brighter simply by being part of it. She never sought attention, yet people were naturally drawn to her. She had a smile that could light up a room, a hug that could make everyone seem better, and a warmth that made everyone feel welcomed. Born in Wales and finding her home here in South Africa, Jayne embraced life with passion, kindness, and a deep love for her family. She was a devoted wife to Dave, a loving mother to Jess and Lauren, and an incredible grandmother whose eyes lit up whenever she spoke about her grandkids. She loved her beauty of the Drakensberg, the joy of music, the magic of theatre, and the camaraderie of friends. Whether on the bowls green at Old Boys or any club for that matter, or surrounded by family and friends, she brought people together with ease, grace, and genuine affection. Today we mourn her passing, we mourn the conversations we will no longer have, the hugs we will no longer receive, and the moments we thought we still had ahead of us. But today is also about celebrating a life. It's about remembering the laughter she brought into our lives, the comfort she gave when it was needed most, the love she shared without hesitation, and the countless memories that will remain with us forever. As the Boyzone song she loved reminded us, no matter what they tell us, no matter what they do, no matter what they teach us, what we believe is true. And what we know to be true today is that Jayne was deeply loved. She loved deeply in return. And although she is no longer with us in person, she will remain forever present in our hearts, in our memories, and in the lives she helped shape. And it is now my honor and privilege to pay tribute to my dear friend, a wonderful wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a friend to so many, with a poem. From the valleys of Wales to South Africa's shore came a woman whose heart could not have given more. With kindness and laughter, wherever she'd roam, she'd had a rare gift of making hearts home. Her smile was a surprise, so gentle and bright, a beacon of comfort, a beautiful light. And if you were lucky enough to receive one of her hugs, you carried that warmth through life's twists and its tugs. Jayne never sought glory, nor praise, nor acclaim, yet everyone loved her and cherished her name. For friendship came naturally, easy and true, and she gave of herself in all that she'd do. On the bowls green she'd stand with determination and grace, a competitor's spirit and a smile on her face. She played with great skill and a passion so rare, yet always with sportsmanship, kindness and care. Her greatest love story was never in fame, but the family she treasured and called by their name. With Dave by her side through the seasons of life, she was a devoted companion, a mother, a wife. For Jess and for Lauren, her love knew no end. A mother, a mentor, a confidant, a friend. And the joy in her eyes would forever unfold whenever her grandchildren reached for her to hold. She loved the high mountains where the Drakensberg stands, those mighty old giants carved by God's hands. Their silence and beauty spoke deep to her soul, like music that softened and made her heart whole. She loved music and theatre, stories and song. The melodies carried her spirit along. And perhaps when you hear the Boyzone softly refrain, no matter what, we'll think of Jayne. We'll find her in music that drifts through the air, in mountains' top sunrises glowing so fair. We'll find her in laughter and warm family ties, in the love of her grandchildren's sparkling eyes. So rest now, dear Jayne. Your journey is done. Your race has been run and your victory won. Though tears fall today for the friend that we miss, we'll forever give thanks for a life such as this. For some leave behind possessions and gold, but the greatest of treasures can never be sold. You left us your love, and that love will remain forever remembered, our dear sweet Jayne. I'd now like to call up Sonia, Dave's sister, to share a few words.
Good afternoon. I am Dave's baby sister. And yes, you wouldn't say it, but you know, like, I have it under good authority that I am. Sure. I was just sitting here, and all I can hear is Jayne's laughter in my head. It was belly. It was so incredibly special. And I have written down a tribute, but I just want to share a few things just off the top of my head. When I met Jayne, I actually can't even remember I was so young. I think I was probably four. And the story goes, she came to meet the folks, and she obviously had supper, and then she curled up on the couch. First time meeting the family, curled up on the couch and went to sleep. And my dad took a blanket and he just put it over her. And my mom always said, a person will never sleep in a place they don't feel safe. And Jayne made herself comfortable. So comfortable that over 40 years later, we still had the privilege of her being around. With us being so young, my sister and myself, she was more of a mother figure to us than a sister-in-law. I don't think we even understood the term sister-in-law, that being that young. And we would merrily go off to David and Jayne's house, and she would allow us to do things that we never allowed at our house. And that would involve actually frying eggs in a pan on a real stove and using a real oven. And when I used to tell the story to people, she would always say, yes, but you know what, they were supervised, like she had signed some liability clause all those years ago. But yeah, David, realized that there were only two ways to argue with a Welsh girl, and neither of them worked. So those were just the few things that I was sitting here and just remembering of those very, very early days of meeting Jayne and how special that she really, really was. I've been asked to read a little tribute from Siobhan. Siobhan is our niece, David's late sister's daughter. And let me get it for you. Okay. My dear Auntie Jayne, a motherly figure in so many lives, she always showed love and acceptance, no matter the circumstances. I was not an easy child. She had a smile and a laugh that made any bad day better, and her hugs were home in so many ways. Thank you for loving me unconditionally, for standing up for me more times than I can count, and for always reminding me just how much my mom loved me. Rest easy, Auntie Jayne, free from pain, and now surrounded by so many loved ones we have lost before. I've also been asked to read a little tribute from Jayne's niece, my daughter. I haven't read it yet, so I didn't have the heart to read it before I got up here. If you were to ask me to describe Auntie Jayne in just a couple of words, I don't think I could. Because truthfully, she was every single type of wonderful. She was everything good that you could think of and more. I cannot think, not once in my life or in my memory, that Auntie Jayne treated a person unkindly or unfairly. She was an extraordinary person with a heart as big as the world. She made a person feel heard, seen, understood, and loved. To know her was to love her genuinely. What has made losing her a lot more positive for me is remembering and feeling all the love that she left inside of us. In every memory, every photograph, every conversation, and in every phone call. Her love truly covered a multitude of oceans. And that's the way I will continue to remember her. May she continue to rest in peace. She is and will be so greatly missed. We would also like to extend condolences and love to the Minnie and Titford families from the Cabrals and the Minnies overseas from Auntie Molly and Uncle Kacha. Okay, now. Okay, my one. Today we gather to celebrate a life of a truly remarkable woman. My sister-in-law, whose kindness seemed to have no limits and whose warmth made everyone feel like they belonged. She was one of those people who could walk into a room and somehow make it brighter without trying. She remembered birthdays, checked in when people needed support, and had an uncanny ability to know when someone just needed a cup of tea, a laugh, or a listening ear. She was also wonderfully human. She had her opinions, her quirks, and a sense of humor that would catch you off guard in the best possible way. She knew that life wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up for the people you loved and finding reasons to smile, even on the difficult days. Many people knew her, and it seemed everyone has a story about an act of generosity, an encouraging word, or a moment where she quietly made their lives better. That was simply who she was. She didn't seek recognition. She just believed in treating people with kindness. As a sister-in-law, she was much more than family. In marriage, she became family by choice, by loyalty, and by love. She welcomed people with open arms and made lasting connections that will continue long after today. If she were here now, she'd probably be embarrassed by all the attention and would tell us to stop being so serious. She would remind us of a funny story and make sure no one was feeling left out. So while our hearts are heavy, I hope that we can also smile. Smile at the memories she gave us, laugh at the stories we'll keep telling, and be grateful that we had the privilege of knowing someone so genuinely special. Her legacy is not only what she accomplished, but in how she made people feel valued, welcomed, and loved. That is a gift that endures. We will miss her deeply, remember her often, and carry her kindness with us every day. And we honor her by living a little bit more generously, laughing a little bit more freely, and loving one another as wholeheartedly as she did.
Thank you, Sonia, for those beautiful words and tributes. Jayne had a formidable bowling career, having won gold at SA Nationals, gold at BSA Open Inter-Districts. She also achieved many fours titles and trips titles on the border. She also won pairs trophies too. She won a numerous amount of club competitions, and she played a very important role in helping her club win the league seasons that she participated in. And our next speaker is somebody who stood alongside Jayne and shared those victories with her. I'd like to call up Patricia.
Thank you, David, Jess and Lauren, for asking me to say a few words about Jayne. I don't think I'm going to be as brave as Sonia was, but let's see. Today I say my final goodbye to my dear friend, my bestie, Jayne, and I feel incredibly grateful for the years of friendship we shared. I first met Jayne at a prize giving, a while before she and David became club members. The two of them were playing the music at the function. Jayne later admitted that her first impression of me was that I was a little bossy. I don't know why, but from the very beginning we just clicked, like two peas in a pod. From that day on, we became firm friends right to the very end. One of the things I treasured most about Jayne was how welcoming she was how she welcomed me so warmly into her family circle. She loved sharing stories about her grandchildren, and it was such a privilege to experience the joy they brought her. When I was diagnosed with cancer in 2014, Jayne showed me exactly what true friendship looks like. She stood beside me through one of the hardest times in my life. She came with me when I went to choose a week before starting chemotherapy, and I will never forget looking in the mirror at the shop and seeing Jayne stand behind me with tears in her eyes. She also accompanied me to some of my doctor's appointments, making sure I heard and understood all the important information. That was Jayne, kind, caring, compassionate, and always there when I needed her. Our friendship grew even stronger through our shared love of bowls. We first played together in a team skipped by Elaine Walker, and what valuable experience we gained playing with Elaine. Later, Jayne, Nola, Jane Bursey and I formed our own team and played together for several wonderful years. We were more than teammates. We were friends who genuinely enjoyed each other's company, and success soon found us when we won the Border Fours. In 2018, the four of us began planning to compete in the 2019 Ladies National Tournament in Durban. In preparation, we even made a pact to all lose weight and get fit for the tournament, as if we really would, which now seems quite crazy when I think back on it. We found ourselves winning the Fours final It felt surreal. Winning that tournament remains one of the absolute highlights of our bowls career together, alongside winning the Open Interdistricts in 2023. Over the years, Jayne and I shared many out-of-town tournaments, and we were always roommates. Those trips created memories I will treasure forever. This year at Interdistricts, I felt the absence of her deeply. For the first time, I truly understood what it felt like to be there without her, and I felt lost. Jayne was more than a teammate. She was more than a friend. Jayne didn't stand for nonsense, but she was loyal, caring, supportive, funny, and someone who quietly but powerfully. Thank you, Jayne, for your friendship, for your kindness, and for being such an important part of my life. You were one of a kind, my dear friend, and I will carry your memory with me always. Rest peacefully, Jayne.
Thank you, Pat. In typical Jayne style, she has chosen a hymn for us today to sing, and it's don't be afraid and just brace yourself, because it's an exceptionally upbeat version of Abide With Me with a bit of a Jamaican twist. So if you could just be upstanding, please. seems like Jess enjoyed that hymn too much. And now for a very special sister to Jayne, I'd like to call up Kay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I struggled to find the words to say about Jayne today. Not that I didn't know what to say, but because there is so much to say. Jayne was the big sister to Lynn and me, a typical eldest child. Growing up, she was bossy. She knew it all, and everything had to go her way or look out. To be honest, we were all terrified of Jayne. She's still telling us what to do, as we were told today in no uncertain terms there was to be no doom and gloom today. So true to those words, I've got a couple of stories. When she told me she was sick, I remembered sitting in my car and I was asking God, why? Why Jayne, God? He seemed to answer me immediately with, well, Kay, since your father arrived here, your mom and dad have been nothing but trouble, and Jayne's the only one who can sort them out. We had a magical childhood growing up in the valleys of Wales. We climbed mountains, picked berries, played in streams, baked dandelion pies, smoked coloured pencils, and said a lot of dumb things. And I often wish I could go back to those beautiful, wondrous times back when we were young. Jayne was definitely the ringleader, and she really did get up to some mischief. From locking Lynn in a suitcase, locking Lynn in the fridge, putting me in a washing machine, and locking Lynn under the stairs. Okay, well, she actually didn't really lock Lynn under the stairs. What she did was she stabbed her with a pen. I just thought it was a bit inappropriate for today. It was then that I learnt very quickly to stay on the right side of Jayne. Look, we were 3 girls. There was going to be fighting. And I don't mean girl fighting. I mean the kind of stuff Navy SEALs would be proud of. Those were good times. We spent many years in the theatre with our parents and also well into our adult years. Some of you will know this, but Jayne had the voice of an angel, but she preferred to stand in the wings and watch. Now, Jayne wasn't a drinker, but occasionally, after a few too many Cactus Jacks, her alter ego would burst out, and if you were lucky enough to witness it, you would have heard Secondhand Rose, Bosom Buddies, Hey Big Spender, and a repertoire of theatrics. Christmas was Jayne's favourite time. All the family would get together, and as our family grew and grew over the years, our table got bigger and bigger. Jayne and David often invited extras, like strays that I like to say, because Jayne's kind heart, nobody was allowed to be left alone at Christmas. We always had a concert planned, so it wasn't a matter of if they would sing, but when they would sing. We are Welsh after all. She loved her family passionately. David, she loved you so deeply, and I never heard her say a bad word about you. But I do remember the first time I saw David. I was about 16 years old and had gone to meet Jayne from work, and we were walking up Oxford Street, and she very excitedly points out, "There he is." I'm like, "Where?" She says, "Over there." I said, "What, that guy with the long hair down his back and the clothes hanging round his knees?" She says, "That's right, he's the guy." I looked at Jayne, I said, "Oh, you don't want to bring that home." Well, anyway, this guy never left, and the rest is history. There were so many parts to Jayne, and she played each role with passion and honesty. So I have written a poem for Jayne. They do call me the Queen of Pain, but hey. It's called I Am Jayne. I awaken, and I am a daughter. I am golden, I am precious. I bring joy and love to all who know me. You nurtured me, protected me. As I grew, I followed my own path. You were incredibly proud of me. I am connected by our family bond that was created in the cosmic stardust. That was my place. I awaken. I am a sister now. I love you deeply. I worry for you. I advocate for you. You stand beside me, but never in my shadow. We share an unbreakable bond, like a shackle, but not a burden. I carry a piece of you wherever I go. That was my place. I awaken. I am a wife now. I gave my heart freely and deeply. I found you, my friend, my soulmate, my love. We built a home built with love, laughter, and kindness. We stood together in good times and bad, with grace and dignity, made memories to comfort you, and I will carry you forever in my heart. That was my place. I awaken. I am a mother now. I nurture my children with passionate protection. My love I offer unconditionally through good times and bad. Everyone takes a little of me, but in return, the gentle touch of my children's goodnight kiss, that unexpected squeeze that says thank you, that reassuring smile that cements our love, the memory of which will last a lifetime. Know this, my girls, I will always be with you every day of your lives, as half of me shines within you. That was my place. I rest in peace now. I am complete. I am Jayne. Although I miss you, I am grateful for every yesterday and thankful for every today. I know my tomorrows will look a bit different now, but I remember every smile, every hug, every silly dance we did, the card games, the AA meetings. It's not what you think. The ho-ho-ho nights and the Christmas Eves, but mostly I will miss every moment that I thought I still had with you. We will miss you, Jayne, a friend, a sister, a wife, a mother. But her purpose here was complete. We are only meant to stay here for a while, and she left us with exactly what she was meant for. A burning light of love which touched all of us in so many different ways and added joy and wonder to our lives. So let's carry that light and let it shine a little love, because she left us with that. Good night, Jayne Anno. Nostar Jayne Anno. I love you forever. Dwindagari Diambith. Thank you.
Thank you, Ko. To a very close friend, probably a second father for the last 30 years, I want to say thank you, Dad. Can you come up, please?
Afternoon, everybody. I shouldn't actually be standing here today. On the Friday before Jayne passed, I was sitting at her bedside and we were chatting. And out of the blue, she says, I want my squeeze and I want Glenn Warner to do the eulogy. I said to her, really? Yep. I said, well, why, love? She says, because you won't be able to do it. In the 43 years we were together, she was more often right than wrong. So we'll see how this works out. Jayne and I met within a couple of years of her immigrating from Wales and me from Zimbabwe. I was a lost young man in a strange land, dealing with my own PTSD issues and probably not mixing with the right crowd, as Kay's alluded to. I had seen Jayne around when I called on what was then SATV and later became Tech Electronics, where she worked. We would greet each other, but honestly, I thought she was way out of my league. So I kept my distance. I mean, she was the stunningly gorgeous girl with a flawless skin and a smile that made the sun shine even at midnight. And me, well, let's just say I needed a bit of work. Like a shave, a haircut, and a new wardrobe, just for starters. But one of Jayne's strengths was a special ability to cut through the cover of the book and to see the real person inside. Fortunately for me, she saw something. And while I didn't know it at the time, she was about to change my life completely. To cut a long story short, I plucked up the courage to ask her out, and she instantly agreed, which was somewhat problematic because, firstly, I had nothing to wear, secondly, I didn't have a car, and thirdly, I had no money. But if I don't do anything right, I do this correctly, and I think on my feet. So I'm thinking on my feet. I go to my best mate, and I borrow a pink country feeling shirt from him. You know, one of those cool shirts we used to buy at Jeffrey's when we were surfing, V-neck with a floral motif. Super. So I borrow his pink country feeling shirt. Another mate of mine was a window dresser at the then Scott stores. And he had this purple Morris Minor Postman Pat kind of vehicle with pink butterflies painted on the outside. He lent me his car. Now I got 2 out of 3, but I got no money. So what do I do? At the stage, I was living in a flat opposite the city hall, and I twigged that the Tatterstalls was in Station Street just round the corner. So I grabbed my little collection of coins, I shoot down to the Tatterstalls. Never been there before, don't know what I'm doing, but I bump into this guy, and he introduces himself as Mike de Stadler. I explain my tale of woe, and after showing him my meager collection of coins, he pointed me to a window recommending a bet. Knowing nothing about horse racing, I realized I was putting myself out on a limb, but hey, fortune favors the brave, so I went for it. Fortunately for me, the horse came in, and dressed in a pink shirt, driving a butterfly-decorated van with a flat battery, I might add. Jayne and I went on our first date. We were married in January 1986, some 20 months later. In those formative years, we grew up together and we grew together. They were years of travel, surfing adventures, and loads of fun. To people who didn't really know Jayne, she appeared conservative, but she was actually very broad and open-minded and always up for a challenge. Before the kids came along, if we had a few free days, we would go on road trips, spinning a coin to make the decisions, left or right, N2 or N6, and so on. We slept in police stations, or we slept in the car outside police stations, while traveling anywhere chance would take us. Glorious, carefree days, laughing like mad drakes because the coin had taken us to the middle of the Free State, but I still had my surfboard strapped to the roof of my baby blue Toyota Corolla. The first of our girls, Jessica, was born in December 1988, and Lauren followed in April 1992. That's right, eh? Jayne reveled in being a mom, and for many years it completely consumed her and became the focus of her existence. She could, however, be very tough, and the girls quickly learned that while I might be a pushover, they could only go so far before their day was about to take a serious downturn. And in so doing, she taught them self-respect and the value of consequence. She taught them about empathy for every living thing, be human or animal. She taught them that compassion does not need an audience. And it brings so much pride when our girls hear of a worthy cause and then just quietly get involved. She loved having Jessica and Lauren's friends at the house, and for many of them, she quickly became a second mom. And I know there's a couple of them here today. These relationships would endure to the point where some of them even visited her during the last weeks of her life. As much as Jayne loved being a mom, she was born to be a nana. And the arrival of our 3 granddaughters gave her so much joy. She showered them with love, and nothing was too much trouble for her babies. In her working life, Jayne would boast that she only ever attended 1 interview, and all her other jobs were by word of mouth. She had the work ethic of a battleship and the integrity of an impenetrable bomb shelter. For the last nearly 20 years of her working life, she would get up at 4 o'clock every morning, often 7 days a week, and go to work. Not because she had to, but because it's what she felt the job required. I get more work done between 4:30 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. than the rest of the whole day, she would reason. She was efficient and dedicated, but she did not suffer fools easily, and was often heard to say, "I cannot do stupid." Jayne had the privilege of working with some amazing people over the years, and some of them have become lifelong friends, notably Rob and Arlene Duncan. And her final job at Beacon Bay Motors, led by John O'Cox and Gerald Berlin, know that she loved you guys and was so appreciative of what you did for her that it would often bring her to tears. However, where Jayne really came into her own was on a fateful day in December 2009, when her father persuaded us to take part in the Sunset Bowls at Old Boys. For the uninitiated, Sunset Bowls was the ancestor of what we now know as corporate bowls. It was played by people who had never played before, and it was organized in that year by Joan Levy. Remember, Jayne came from a bowls family. Her mother played provincial bowls, won the All Cape, and her father served on the border executive. We saw the amount of time they dedicated to the sport, so when the time came for us to decide if we would like to play more formal bowls, we earnestly promised each other it would only be social. We all know how that worked out. Jayne embraced the sport wholeheartedly. It introduced her to people who lifted her out of her domestic rut. She was blessed with experienced bowlers like Leslie Halley and Elaine Walker, who took her under their respective wings, taught her the intricacies of the game, and gave her the best grounding for her playing career. As Pat was saying earlier, she, Pat, Nola Warner, and Jane Bursey went on to win the South African Fours Championship in 2019, and a couple of years later, winning gold in the South African Provincial Champs, giving her 2 national trophies and a multitude of border titles, compiling a CV that would be the envy of any bowler on the border for decades to come. For me, I so enjoyed watching her blossom under her own steam, carried by her sport, her friends, and her teammates. For once, it was just her, doing her own thing, achieving, being recognized, and developing a confidence and a self-belief that made her even more beautiful. Nothing could have made me happier. With the birth of our granddaughters, Jayne had decided to scale back on her sporting commitments, wanting to spend quality time with her babies. But sadly, the universe had other plans, and we are here today. In conclusion, if you would please bear with me, I would really like to take the opportunity to say thank you for a few things. Firstly, Brian and Glenn, for picking up the baton and running with this. Jayne really put you in the deep end, and thank you very much, guys. She loved you guys dearly, and she would want nobody else to do it. Thank you. To the doctors and nurses at Hilton Life, where we initially heard the devastating news, to the entire staff of Cancer Care and St. Don's. I was never fully appreciative of the work you do in such trying circumstances, but you are all truly angels, and I will never forget you. Thank you. I don't mean to cause offense by singling somebody out, but I must mention Varish Ramazar, a doctor, an oncologist, and a proper human being. A man who always made time for us, allowed us to cry, allowed us to feel. A man who wormed his way into Jayne's heart, and frankly, mine and my daughter's hearts too. A compassionate man who has become firmly entrenched in our family, and I cannot thank him enough. To my club, and indeed the community of clubs across the border, I cannot express my thanks enough for what you did in an effort to give Jayne her most valuable asset, more time. I've said it before, but for many, the concept of club is one of a negative lifestyle, but nothing could be further from the truth. It's about friendship, family, and caring for one another in any given circumstance. And every club on the border has done that in abundance. The Sterling primary family, who for more than 2 weeks, nearly 3 weeks, has shown up every evening, 5 o'clock, supper, with words of supper and words of encouragement and caring. It always amazes me what a beautiful community we live in. Thank you very much. To our friends, her friends, new and old, I won't name you because I will forget somebody, but you know who you are. Thank you for choosing to walk this road with us from the beginning to the end. You didn't have to, but you did. You brought love, compassion, and importantly, endless supply of hugs. I'll get to speak to you individually over time, but right now words fail me, believe it or not, but thank you very much. To my sisters and her sisters, coming together to lift the load as much as you could, I couldn't have done this without you. And I'll be eternally grateful for how you used inappropriate humor to turn tasks that had the ability to humiliate her into as much fun as possible. Love you guys. Thank you very much. Last but not least, my daughters. Our daughters. I just want to repeat what I said to Mom and her sisters when we said goodbye to Nana. You live not without her, but because of her. In every heartbeat, in every breath, she is present. In the smiles of your girls and the hugs we must often beg for. She is present. Thank you for the way you've conducted yourselves these last 8 months, for the strength you've given me, for the many nights you sat up with me when things weren't going well, and how you threw yourself into any task, no matter how difficult, just so that Mom could be more comfortable. We couldn't be more proud of you. To everybody who made the effort to turn up this afternoon, an indication of how loved Jayne was. As a family, we truly appreciate you all, and somehow we'll get to you and thank you personally. But farewell, love. Rest well, no more pain, and rest softly. Thank you.
I want to tell you, that man loves giving a hug, even if it's a man. And Davy, I've got to also tell you that your wife was wrong this time. You nailed that, so well done. So I suppose to break the ice just a little bit before we move on, Jayne had a great sense of humour, as we've heard already. And one morning before a border competition, as the cards were being handed out, Jayne was asked to tell a joke. And she didn't even hesitate. She jumped straight to this joke just to lighten the mood, but I don't think she quite thought the joke through before announcing it out loud. Anyway, she proceeded to tell her favourite joke, and that joke was about her boss's dictaphone. She had numerous ladies in stitches, and to this day, It is now Jeanette's favourite joke, and I'm sure we'll hear it a bit later. I'd like to call up Mandy, a very dear friend of Jayne's, just to pay a tribute.
Hello, everyone. My story is a little bit different from everybody else's. Dave, Jess, Lauren have asked me to share my walk with Jayne over the last few weeks. I went to visit Jayne on Tuesday, the 28th of April, to give her a hug and some encouragement. Dave was at home at the time, and he told me how very ill Jayne had been the week before. Dave needed to go back to work, so I stayed a while. We had a lovely chat, and Jayne very proudly showed me all the beautiful renovations they were doing. Before I left, I asked Jayne if she would like me to pray with her. We prayed for strength for each day, and God's peace that passes all our understanding would be with her. The Lord laid on my heart to ask Jayne if she'd ever asked Jesus to be her Lord and Saviour. She said no, but she would like to. We prayed the sinner's prayer together, and she gave her life to Jesus. I could see a peace come over Jayne that I hadn't seen before. In the next week or two, Lauren came to visit. Jayne went in and out of hospital during that time. Jess sent me a message saying that Jayne had asked if I could go and visit her in hospital. I went to see Jayne, and she asked if I would pray with her, which I did, and anointed her with anointing oil, which we brought back from Israel many years ago. My husband Mike made Jayne a beautiful little cross of olive wood, which she could hold in her hand. Jayne asked if I would come back every day and pray with her. What a privilege and a special time that was. I got to meet Jayne's family and friends who were there with her constantly. It was so amazing to see a family come together and show unconditional love and care for Jayne and each other. She told me over and over again that she wasn't afraid. On Sunday morning, when I went to the hospital, Jayne was very ill. Dave, Jess, Lauren and I held Jayne's hands and we prayed for her. God was gracious. He saw she was tired and took her to eternal rest later on that evening. I'd just like to share my Bible verse and reading that came the very next day after Jayne had given her life to the Lord. It was Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And the little notes went, when we decide to follow Jesus, we're given new life in Christ. But what exactly does that mean? Jesus came and died for everyone who ever lives. That's us. And when we give our lives to him and make the choice to follow him, we get a new life in him. We get adopted into his eternal family with all the rights that go along with it. When we say yes to Jesus, we are choosing to believe everything about him is true. We are agreeing that he lived a perfect life, died for us, and rose from the dead. When we believe this, we are adopted into God's family as his children. Being God's children means getting unlimited, constant access to God's presence, love, and authority. And the great news, no one can ever separate us from God and his love for us. We don't receive new life as God's children from our parents or earn it from our good deeds. It's something God freely offers us. Our old identities no longer matter. Every unkind name we were given, every mistake we've made, every hurt experienced or caused, it's all erased. Our identity, security, and future are now rooted in the God who loves us and died for us. If you belong to Jesus, you're not alone.
and you're known by the Creator of the universe, who calls you his child, knows you by name, and loves you unconditionally. In John chapter 3, verse 16, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." May the Lord comfort you all and give you his peace. Amen.
Thank you, Mandy. Also, thank you for spending those special times with Jayne towards the end. It's becoming increasingly challenging to put speeches together these days. Everybody thinks you just AI it or Google it. But you see, the reality is that technology didn't watch Jayne growing up. AI didn't support Jayne through her illness. And ChatGPT didn't have conversations with Jayne. And Google didn't witness any of Jayne's stories that we've heard today. Now, clearly, Jayne must have believed that I'm some kind of public speaking machine. It's something that I've had to learn to enjoy over the years. But Jayne, this one's difficult, my girl. Difficult in so many ways. One of them, because every idea I had, Voki shut me down. Knowing Jayne, I can almost picture her saying to Dave, "Let me see how that guy gets out of this one." But Jayne, I hope I make you proud. We know Jayne wouldn't have wanted today to be all tears and all sadness. She loved a laugh. She loved people. She loved her family. She loved line dancing, as we've heard, and she loved good company. She had a remarkable ability to make people smile, as we've heard. And one story that comes from Jeanette, after playing a game at Comrades, or rather EastLondonEL.com, as we know it now. Everyone was sitting enjoying a drink after a game, of course, when Jayne politely excused herself from the table and she announced that she was going to the shop. A little while later, she returned carrying a round of drinks for the table, which she had got from the shop. Now, most of us would simply have said, "We're going to the bar." Not Jayne. Jayne was too posh to use the word bar. It was the shop. And that was one of those things that made Jayne unique, funny, slightly cheeky, and gave her the ability to make us always smile. That was her gift. She brought people together. She made friendships look effortless and reminded us that life's greatest joys are often in the company of the people around us. My mom, Nola, a dear friend of Jayne's, shared this story with me. Many years ago, during an all-Cape tournament hosted here in East London, a group of ladies were having a festive time frequenting the shop while doing line dances at Alboys. And in those days, free falling it was the new in thing. So, with Jayne loving to teach line dances, the song Free Falling came on and she managed to get everybody into a circle, all the ladies. And in true Jayne style, she was the first to free fall on the dance floor. Unexpectedly, their friend Bev decided to attempt a tandem fall and fell right on top of Jayne. Of course, there were no injuries, and Jayne, being Jayne, found the humor in the story. One of her favorite songs, and I tell you, I've been listening to this every day in my car since I found out that this was her favorite song, is "Your Baby Has Gone Down the Plug Hole." maybe we'll get a chance to listen to it a bit later. But now most people would choose a favorite song because it's beautiful, emotional, inspirational. Not Jayne. She chose a song that made people laugh. And in many ways, that tells us everything we need to know about Jayne. She understood something very important, that life is very serious on its own. Sometimes the greatest gift that we can give each other is just a reason to smile. As we remember Jayne today, her life asks each of us a simple question. If somebody stood up here speaking about you, what would they tell? What life story rather, are you writing? What impact would you have on others? And when I look around this room today, I think the answer for Jayne is very clear. People will remember her for her kindness, for her love, for her humor, and for her friendship. More than that, you can't ask for from any human being. While today marks the end of a journey for Jayne with us, it also reminds us as individuals to make the most of our own lives, to laugh a little bit more, to spend time with family and friends, and to create memories. Tell people you care about them while you still can. And also, man hugs are acceptable. So if anybody sees Dave a little later, please give him a big squeeze. On behalf of the family, I'd just like to thank the Sterling Presbyterian Church, the Old Sorbonnian Club, and everybody who kindly donated eats. Thank you very much. Alden from Stones, for your assistance, thank you. And then all of you in attendance, possibly watching on the live stream, your support that you have shown the family has been incredible. And as you heard from Dave earlier, they are truly grateful. In closing, the family would like to invite everyone to join them at the Old Sorbonnian Club in the Centenary shop. Come and share some cactus, Jayne. And if you're brave enough, let's get some line dancing going. Before we go, Dave, you're going to kill me for this. But before we go, could I just ask that the family please stand up and maybe come and stand here next to Brian. Let's have a look at Jayne and let the congregation join me in applauding Jayne's life. And after that, if I could just ask that the family leave first. What a wonderful woman Jayne was, and let's give her the send-off she deserves.